type shit.
When I think of you,
Yeah.
my heart remembers
Yes, it does.
all the love we've ever had, all the love we've ever had, just me and you.
Damn.
When I think of you,
Who am I? Cause I know I ain't this body for real. Now that I'm in the physical, it's hard to describe me for real. Trying to remember, but my real self hiding for real. Where you at? Come talk to me. Give me my knowledge. Cause the real shit that I'm really supposed to know, it ain't buried in no college. It ain't buried in no book. I won't hear it from no scholar. Put me up into the astro and grab me by the collar and then speak it into my ear. Even if you gotta holler, I want the cheat codes for this shit like I'm playing Grand Theft Auto. Cause I'm tired of all the lessons. I'm tired of all the stressing. What's the point of being immortal if I'm always counting blessings? I'm done with all the extra testing. Shit, I'm trying to have fun, even if it's for a second. Give me a second. How dare I create myself outside of myself and still be myself? So my question is, what part of myself am I? Cause the thoughts that I be having running around in my mind, I don't think you motherfuckers really know God. Or do you? Or do you look in the mirror and be like, nigga, who you? Meditate, levitate, and see what you do. I need more people on this type of time so I can get a blue clue. Running through this simulation, twisted off this juju. Forgetting that I am the only way I'm going cuckoo. So who am I? I'm you, even you too. So if I'm you too. Quit falling for this foo-foo. No separation from the creation, just like voodoo. Chasing your tail, who knew? Thinking out loud, talking to myself. I know you're listening, you probably think I got a screw loose.
just me and you. When I think of you.
Struggling to find quality entertainment? Discover Blackwire TV, the ultimate streaming service. Enjoy over 11,000 live channels, more than 24,000 new and classic movies, and 7,000 plus series at your fingertips. Experience thrilling live sports and exclusive free PPV events, all designed for non-stop entertainment. Experience unmatched convenience now. With Blackwire TV, every moment becomes a cinematic adventure. Transform your viewing experience with dynamic, high-energy content that keeps you engaged 24/7. Join Blackwire TV today and always have something extraordinary to watch.
Yeah. Hey, man, make sure y'all, man, look, I ain't gonna keep telling y'all about that Blackwire, man. It is the app deleter. You know what I'm saying? App deleter. Blackwire make you get rid of it all. That's what we here for, Johnny. But anyway, man, y'all see what the title is, man. That self-hate hit different, don't it? It do. You know what I'm saying? You already know, man. We back with another one. I got my boy slash co-host, Tone. Speak to him, man. You already know why we do it, man.
What's going on, Brian? You know how we do it.
Yeah.
Got a special, blessing to your family, to my family, and to the community. You know, we blessing each other tonight with just a little bit of self-love, because the title is self-hate. So we want more love in our life. Love ourselves better. But yeah, man, self-hate is real, man. Self-hate is real.
Yeah. I was saying we live on opposite day for real.
we live on opposite day.
Yeah, because our title always be the opposite of what we saying. We really here for y'all. We don't try to push it as a negative. We really just talking.
Exactly.
So yeah, just like that.
Exactly. Because we want to like he's saying, from what I caught what you had just said, because it makes a lot of sense. When you read certain titles or you see certain images or you hear certain things, we get a perception about what it is, even though we might not truly know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So an example today, man, we had a lively conversation in the barbershop, and we would play the song. No, this was before we played a song, and there was a split decision on what we heard.
Mhm.
And you know, I like to go down a rabbit hole, so we went so far as down a rabbit hole to see that each song had the same wavelength. So
Mhm.
that's why we heard two different things. It's kind of like seeing the dress blue or seeing the dress gray, you know. But
Yeah.
I just brought that about just to say that we see things differently. And when we see things differently, that doesn't mean that it's always wrong. We don't have to bash each other. We don't have to bash ourselves, you know. So self-hate, that's why I'm going with the self-hate part to where can we trust each other? You know, are we hating each other so bad, or are we hating ourselves so much to where when we look at our next man against us, you know, across from us, we look at them as they against us, you know,
Mm.
crabs in a barrel. Are we really self-hating ourselves so much to where now we can't get along with the other person? So that's why I'm going with the self-hate part. We want to
Right.
build you up and want to, you know, build each other up to let each other know, like, hey, we might be thinking one thing that's negative about ourselves, but you don't have to think like that. You know, give the person their flowers while they're alive, as they say.
Mhm. Yeah, because the battle starts within. You know what I mean? And this is why you hear phrases like the body is a temple. You know, if the body is a temple, you know, what do you think it is? You know, so we're gonna cross a lot of lines tonight, man. I really want to get into some stuff. So let's start. Let's start. Tell them how you feel about the title, man. That just just self-hate in general, man. You know, because people let self-hate affect them in so many different ways, you know, from relationships and so on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how do you think self-hate plays a part in a relationship, especially in this modern time?
Right. Well, yeah, in this relationship, man, it's like we self-sabotage. So
Hmm.
we see things, you know, that's kind of like first thing that came to my mind when you said self-hate in a relationship is like we sabotage what we might think that's a good thing. You know, subconsciously we know that it's good, it's working out, everything, but it can't be right. So
Yeah,
because we hate ourselves or because of things that we've been through,
yeah,
which created this self-hate in the relationship, now nothing is good enough. You know, we're always criticizing our partner. And they say the things that you look out in front of you and you see the most is truly what's hidden within you. So if I'm
mm,
seeing my partner doing X, Y, Z, or if I'm always pointing a finger at them, it might be something that's really truly hidden in me. So
mm,
self-hate in a relationship kind of tears each other down. If you don't love yourself, man, if you can't get up in the morning and you know, if we can't feel, you know, that we doing our best and we looking our best, then when we look out in front of our counterpart, you know, why I get with this chick, you know, you know, her breath stink or whatever the case may be, you know. But I'm just saying we start to actually, you know, disown or manipulate things that we truly are truly good for us.
mhm,
We make them bad for us because of the own self-hate.
right.
So that's kind of how I look at it in relationships.
Yeah. I mean, I look at that too, because you know, I think people be so used to toxicity that they don't think anything else is normal. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So I think it kind of defeats when they finally do get some peace and things are going right. They be like, man,
Right,
that's where that too good to be true line come from. You know what I mean? I'm like, man,
right, right.
so, you know, that self-sabotage do kick in, and basically instead of doing everything to make their relationship productive, they basically in turn is doing everything to destroy it.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
self-hate too, when you say destroy it, because some people destroy it because they think that they should be in a better relationship. Think
Mm,
that a lot too. I seen like, you know, they really hating on a partner or they're in competition with their partner. They're thinking that they should be somewhere else better. And that's still a form of self-hate because like I said, when we looking out in front of ourselves, um, judging, you know,
mm,
something that we take, you know, as a possession or as something that we love, not possessions like possessively, but if we taking this person as something we love, but we can't encourage them, we can't, you know, tell them something that's make them feel better. Mainly it's because we hate ourselves or we hate
yeah.
on ourselves, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you hating on the person that's laying next to you, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, but
I
you
mean,
know,
but we have that though. That's a big thing
yeah,
in relationships. You know, we might not directly say it, but if we complaining about what that person did last week today, It's making that person uneasy versus making them feel good. We know when you're making a person feel good versus making them feel bad. If we see that in relationships, we don't strive to make each other feel good.
I look at that in certain ways, though. You know what I mean? Because if you telling somebody something that they did last week that wronged you, you know what I'm saying? I look at that in a different light, because some people wick be burning too long. They fed up, so now they got something to say. You know what I mean? They ain't gonna keep just letting.
So I agree with you if you say that you're waiting for the perfect time.
Yeah. Sometimes.
But if you waiting on an emotional response to trigger it, like to say, because we've all been there. So if I got something to say, but I'm just waiting on her to say something else so I can actually trigger this response, it gives me a reason to say it, then that's not fair. Because I should have addressed the situation when I truly felt it versus responding or reacting per se to what that other person said to me. I used to do that all the time. Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna store this. I'm gonna put this on the shelf. Wait till she say this. I'm putting this on the shelf. So I think that's unfair, and I think men do that a lot.
I agree with that. That's kind of like that's when you start getting into a tit for tat situation. You know what I mean? When you just like holding ammunition just to fire it later. You know what I mean? But if somebody got feelings, and they going through feelings, and they really, because some people can be passive, a little pushover a little bit, and then they finally be like, man, you know what? I don't like the way you've been conducting yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think people should still feel like they got a right to be able to speak their mind on somebody. And it's crazy because when you talk about relationships, I'm kind of like in a point in my life where I look at it like, I don't want to be mad at somebody for being weak. You know what I mean? Because when somebody do usually wrong you, that's just them showing you their weakness.
True.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to sit around and carry that burden of being mad at somebody because they lack the strength of discipline. You know what I'm saying? And then that's the thing that people hold on to things like that. Like, say if somebody cheated on you or something like that, they hang on to that shit forever and be like, oh, they be like, man, yeah, I always remember you. And they'd be talking about that relationship and they next 3 relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I get what you're saying. They holding on to the pain of what the person caused them versus, being, like you said, you don't want them to be weak in expressing themselves. Basically, they could have expressed themselves in the initial relationship instead of carrying the baggage with them.
Yeah, but not only that, is just that's gonna bring you down. That's that self-sabotage too, because now you bringing that to your next journey. You know what I'm saying?
But let's go back to the part when you say that they seeming weak because they're not expressing themselves. Are you saying that?
I was saying that the person that wronged you was weak because they wronged you after y'all made certain agreements.
True. So now so now that you've been wronged or the person's been wronged, should that person be able to say what they want to say then, later, or how?
They definitely should speak their mind then, speak their heart then. You know what I mean?
So like, say for instance, because I got where you was going with that, because I was saying that if you've been wrong and you want to hold back without saying it right then, and you want to think about what you want to say at a good time versus reacting to it and holding it, I think that you still can hold on to it if you want to wait for the perfect time. That's what I was saying, because
you don't think there's a time limit on that? Because I don't think you should wait 6 months before you finally say something.
I don't think that it's truly a time limit on it, but if you can't bring it to your so some people, like you say, it is a weakness when a person can't speak their mind, first and foremost. But if they want to tell that person, which is their partner, at a reasonable time when they feel the best, how can we judge that? How can we judge when that person has the strength to speak about it? You know that the person was wronged, or if I did the action to the female, but she never reacted. We both did agree that it was wrong. I'm sorry, but she never reacted. She say, I don't want to talk about it right now. But then 6 months later, she wants to talk about that. She still has that right to talk about it. Should she had talked about it earlier? I don't think that that's for me to decide, but I think that when she finally does talk about it, it should be talked about enough to where it's eliminated. Because if we hold things baggage, like you're saying, which is true, and I agree that you shouldn't really hold it, but I can't tell that person when they should express it. Now it goes into other scenarios. Like you said, it goes into other scenarios. You hold this for 6 months, but now you're mad because the food cold. So, you know, I get what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, right? But when the heart is weak and you're dealing in a relationship and you're dealing with a lot of self-hate, because remember, we trying to show each other how to come out of the self-hate. So the weakness is I can't express myself to my partner. We see that's a lot in relationships. So now, upon hearing this or reading a book or whatever the case may be, you say, okay, I want to express myself to my partner.
Right.
But this incident that you didn't express yourself happened a year ago.
Yeah.
I truly feel that if you came up with the right way to express that to your partner, and now you've exposed what hurt you the most, and you guys agree to disagree or let that go, now this is why I've been acting this way. I think that should be respected.
I think that is unhealthy.
I agree. So let me give you an example. Because you're kind of talking to me. This conversation really kind of is about me right now. So one incident happened in my life with a friend of mine. So but because of my own ego or my own self-hate, I didn't want to express it to them. I wanted to keep my chest up like it didn't hurt me. So it went by for maybe even 2 to 3 years, but I had kind of gave my buddy the cold shoulder or acted a certain way that I didn't know. But because he knew me, he like, hey, bro, I want to ask you a question. Why do you treat me like this? But because he never asked me and I didn't recognize it, I never formulated an answer until he asked me right then. And I told him, I said, hey, man, you know, I never known that I was treating you away, but when you asked me the question, I want to express to you how you made me feel. But it was a few years prior to that. I didn't know that I was holding on to this. So when I got grips enough to tell him, oh man, this is how you wronged me, how I felt, we made amends. So I feel like the time that had in between was a form of a weakness. That's why I acted or reacted to certain ways when I was around him. Once I was able to express myself even years later, he was able to accept that. And now we go back to a harmony. But if he wasn't able to accept that, he could have been like, man, you've been holding this all this time. You this, you that, you know. So I felt right then that we still have to give people room to say, hey, man, you know, this is what you did to wrong me. I couldn't express it then, but I'm expressing it now. And if that person doesn't understand it after you didn't, you know, ruminated, you didn't thought about it, sometimes you didn't wrote it down, that could be your deciding factor on how this person views your relationship.
Well, you got to look at it like this too, because if you spending all that time to express yourself and now it's a difference in the relationship this whole time, all that time you wasted, that where you could have probably healed it and it wouldn't been so many resentful, bottled up feelings, you know what I'm saying? You know, it might have not even terminated a relationship. What if it was a situation where y'all wasn't talking for a year because you didn't express yourself? Now you done wasted a year's worth of relationship. You know what I'm saying?
I have to agree with you. I have to agree because that's a definite weakness.
Yeah.
It's a weakness, but we all exhibit it. You know, I just wanted to kind of show you how even myself, so we exhibit that. So I got to agree with you. It is a form of a weakness that when someone wrongs you, you don't want to express it because I don't want to hurt their feelings, or really you don't want to hurt your own feelings.
Yeah, true that. Yeah.
Really, you don't want the response back from what you said. They might lash out on you. You don't want that response.
Yeah, and that's that hang on. That's that hang on with anger. That's that keep you from that hang on with love, because now you done wasted all this time being angry with somebody and bottled up feelings, and not the whole relationship dynamic didn't change. You know what I'm saying? Now it might get to the point where it's just about to break away for good. You know what I mean? That goes in house, out to friendships. You know what I mean? That goes in every direction. You know what I mean? So, I think people should express themselves. That should be something that is highly required.
Yeah, exactly. Communication,
Yeah,
exactly. You're
yeah.
right. I agree wholeheartedly. You really left something on the table if you held on to this pain this long, you know. But if you look at the totality of humanity and how we truly think, we truly some of us hold on to things a lot longer.
Yeah.
A
So
lot.
Q Rush said it's very unhealthy. Why wait to have that conversation? It will cause more issues in the relationship. How much thought do you need? LOL.
Yeah, well, that's great though, because
Yeah.
he's they agreeing with the fact that you shouldn't wait. Now let me expound on that, because once again, like I said, I went through it, but wisdom taught me differently. But
Right.
at the same token, when you read that comment again, because the opposite, not necessarily read it again, but the opposite of that is what most people truly go through.
Yeah, that's true.
They
Yeah.
hold it in, because I gotta agree with them, because it doesn't take a lot of thought. But if you expressing yourself and you cussing that person out, or you trying to really, demean that person by expressing yourself, then that's unhealthy then.
Yeah. Yeah, because that turned into, like, that's what I was talking about with that resentment,
Yeah,
harsh words and
right.
saying mean things and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? That's, yeah, you don't want to get to that point and stuff. And then,
Right. So,
you know,
in y'all youth, because I don't know the age of the comment, but in y'all youth, I'm showing you now as an adult elder, because I'm 20, 30 years older. I'm showing you how I made the mistake, on where y'all clarifying that mistake even now. Not to hold on to things, because I think y'all generation is very good at that. Y'all have a way of expressing yourself that makes people say, hey, you better listen. But that still goes with the self-hate phrase, when stay in a child's place. So, you don't want that child or that person or anybody. I don't value this person's opinion, because he don't know as much as me.
that's real. That's real, because that is very commonly used as we growing up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, after Rachel said, if you can't express yourself to your partner or friend and feel safe, then that might not be the partner or friend for you.
Well, that's true. I agree. But if that person, not but, however, I'm gonna add to that, because I think but takes away. If that person has been by your back in certain situations, to where, like, man, it's my dog, but in other situations they betrayed you, sometimes that confirmation of them being there when you needed them the most outweighs that betrayal.
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard. I know what you mean by that. That's
Right?
hard. You know what I
But I'm
mean?
still holding on to that betrayal, and now it comes out in different forms. So now I have to, once I realize it though, because we speak in hindsight. So everybody's true and correct when you say this is what you should do. But we all been in a position to where we had something to say and we didn't say it. And when it comes to our relationships, sometimes what bothers us the most and we don't say it carries on and linger. And now other things come up, and we think that that's the thing that came up, but it's something that we should have said prior to that.
And that's how things get drug out real easy. When shit start going further than it's supposed to, when that tie should have been broken a long time
Right.
ago. You know what I mean?
Communication in relationship is
Yeah,
a big thing. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
man. Yeah.
So we also,
Self-hate.
huh?
I said, yeah, self-hate.
Self-hate. Yeah, self-hate. And people don't, I don't think people understand how many forms self-hate come in.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because like you said, we talked about the self-sabotage and stuff like that. But self-hate can also reflect in spirituality as well. You know what I mean? When you giving something power outside of yourself, I think that I think that is I think that's a detriment to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, because when you say self-hate and spirituality, um, that really goes to like the subconscious level of who we are because in spirituality, no matter what we Christian, we're gonna say Jesus. So when we think of Jesus and spirituality, we always see, if you close your eyes, we'll say, nah, we don't see it. Well, we see this image that they put on the wall for us.
Yeah.
So if we see that image, that's self-hate. So so when we think of spirituality, we don't think of ourselves. We think of something higher than us.
Right. Exactly.
So when we think of self-hate and spirituality, we want to pray to something
Mhm.
versus asking guidance for help within our own self.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I use when I hear that word pray, it kind of make me cringe. You know what I'm saying? Because what's pray to a predator? I always say that to people. I let them know because you know what I mean. You basically making yourself food to entities that you don't even understand. You know what I'm saying? And I think once you start using stuff like I believe in this and I believe in that, and you pray to this and you pray to that, that's what you giving that power over you, over your
Right.
dominion. So you know what I mean. People really need to be careful of what they think they praying to. You know what I'm saying?
Because first and foremost, if you're praying, you got to ask yourself, are you praying or are you begging?
Yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yeah. Yeah. No,
That's
that's
one
true.
thing you should ask yourself. And then if you ask yourself, if you're praying, are you praying a selfish prayer? Because
Mm,
there's 8 billion people on this earth. Are you
yeah.
praying a selfish prayer and each 8 billion person that has a prayer has to be answered? Is that the type of prayer?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
And we just
so
talked about that too. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so are you praying or are you praying to defeat some desires? Are
That's
you
what I was
praying?
saying. Yeah, because you got to think, and it's a negative prayer because you praying for a desire. Most people pray for desires or wants, whatever, however you want to name it. At the end of the
Right,
day, it's a desire. You know
right.
what I'm saying? So I don't never. I mean, I know people. It's some people that pray and to be grateful and you know
Of course. Of course.
in a humble form. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? But
yeah. Give
you
it
know,
right,
yeah.
of course, because prayer is real. Prayer
Mm,
is tapping into the etheric film, the etheric realm, the vibratory realm
yeah,
So prayer is real because your word has a spelling that has a reaction. So
yeah,
what you say does come back to you. So
right.
prayer is real. It's
Mhm.
the outward prayer that we give into something else. It's the power that we give into something else
Yeah,
versus the power of realizing that what we was created to be.
exactly.
There's a verse that Jesus quoted says, "The works that I do, you shall do and greater."
Yeah,
So if we're using Jesus as the man, as the steeple of who we should follow, then we should follow exactly what he said.
yeah,
So with that being said, the self-hate won't allow us to see our greatness. Like we had the conversation today when I asked the guy, when you pray and you get an answer back, because he was honest. He said he prayed and he got answers and he got conversations.
mhm,
I asked him, who and what did you hear when you was praying? It kind of took him by surprise, and we both seen in his face that he had an answer.
yeah,
So I coaxed the answer out of him, and I didn't even ask him truly what did he hear, but it was on a coaxing level, and then he had to say, "I heard my own voice."
yeah,
But
yeah,
because of whatever's blocking him, we don't see that the answering to the prayers and the prayer giver is the same person.
yeah. Because he look at it like that's why he said, so if I pray for something and it just happened, it happens to work out for me. Is
Right.
that
Is
luck?
that just luck? No, it's not
No,
luck.
no, it's
You
not
you
luck.
manifested it. You
Yeah,
prayed
exactly.
for it.
Exactly.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
you just took another route to give that power to something else instead of saying you the one that got you out of that situation with your power. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I think people lack the understanding of is they don't realize that they have that dormant energy, that power living inside of them. You
Right.
know
So
what
why they don't realize it is because we typically working from the physical. We're working from the root chakra out.
Mm-hmm.
So we only can do so much with our hands.
Yeah.
So we don't recognize we have that power because we think power comes from our
Mm-hmm.
hands, excuse me. You know? So the power doesn't come from your hand. The power is in the ether. It's the power that's manifested from that hasn't been created or destroyed. There is no beginning. There is no end.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the power. The power is infinite potential, infinite chaos, infinite creation.
Yeah. You know something I never hear people say? I never hear people say, I want to be better than Jesus.
Better than Jesus?
Yeah.
Well, because they would consider that blasphemy.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when they say blasphemy, they don't understand that they said it was only one blasphemy that's against the Holy Ghost. We won't go into that. But they put, once again, they put something else. It's just like saying good health.
Mm-hmm.
Take it all the way down to the mundane level.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's like saying good health.
Yeah.
You know?
Who said your hair ain't good?
Right. So if I say that I want to be better than Jesus, that's like saying that my hair ain't good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't be, how can I be better than Jesus? It's impossible.
Yeah.
You know,
but it's okay to say I want to be better than Kobe. I want to be better than Michael Jordan.
You know,
it's okay to say that though.
And you know, not to branch off from that, but we idolize and we put them as our stars.
Yeah, exactly.
So if Jesus told us that the works we do will be better than the works he do.
Exactly.
So why can't we realize that? It's the same thing.
Why won't we go for it? Go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Why wouldn't you want to outshine the best? And you want to outshine the best in every other aspect of life.
Well, one way of looking at that is that if you outshine or let's just bring it back down to a harmonic level to where we have a lot of respect for that ancestral legacy of Jesus. So if we bring it down to that level and we say that Jesus told us that we can do certain things. Why we don't want to look at the certain things that we can do is because now we have to be responsible. So if I say that I'm better than Jesus, or if I say that Jesus told me I was going to be better than him, now I have to do something.
Now you got to live up to it. Yeah, you got to live up to that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that I want to give my power away. I want to go to church. There's nothing wrong with that because it says fail not to assemble. But I want to give that power away because if I own that power, I'm responsible.
So to me, that make you weak.
Right. Well, the ego is weak. The devil is there to steer us away from our power, to steer us away.
So that make the negativity much more easy to do.
True. That's why we living in this distraction. We distracted by food. We distracted by TV. So it takes away what? Distraction from our spirituality, which is our greatest power.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So you're right. So it is. We are living in the world in a way of where we're real weak. Excuse me, real weak because we so distracted. It takes so much strength or willpower to not be distracted because within those theta waves, delta waves, gamma waves, you have power in those waves. So if we don't understand those waves and we not harnessing that power through meditation, we not harnessing that power through our creative force. Because when I cut your hair, would I do anything? That's a form of meditation, but it's on a higher level because I'm outputting. So we got to output and input. So if we're not trying to sit down and we're not relaxing ourselves through some form of strength, which is willpower. But look, you say we never talked about the willpower. Let's talk about willpower real quick, just to give an example of it.
Okay.
And why it works. So when we think of willpower, you just superficial phrases like, man, get up at 5 a.m. and make your bed. Or go to the gym every day at the same time, or do something for 21 days in a row. Well, how I look at willpower, or how willpower was described to me, it was described to me as a spring. So if we have a spring, we know that a spring has more power when it's loaded.
Yeah.
So as you load the spring, meaning you press the spring down, it gives it more power.
Right.
So as we wake up in the morning and make our bed up, we give that spring more power by pressing it down. We didn't have to do it, but we just did it. So it's a practice. So we went to the gym, we pushing that spring down. We did what we said we was gonna do for the day. We pushed that spring down even more. So the next day or the next week or the next month, when we don't feel like doing it, that spring has already been loaded. Now we take some of that energy from that willpower and now we can use it the next day to get up and make that bed. So
Mhm.
now we done got up and made that bed. We done went to the gym. We done did everything we said we was gonna do. That spring has now gone under pressure. But what
Yeah.
happens is we leave the spring unloaded and we do simple tasks and then we go watch TV. We do simple stuff, then we go drink a beer. So our spring never gets loaded. So our willpower stays very weak.
Yeah.
So when
That
it's
makes
time
sense.
for us, yeah. So when it's time for us to do something, we don't have the energy. So why don't we have the energy? Is because we haven't harnessed it through. We're not going to talk about the practice of harnessing energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, it's already in you.
Yeah. The
So
energy. That's what
right,
we.
energy, exactly.
Yeah.
Meditation. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? You know, you harnessing, you bringing your Godship down within you. You know,
Mhm.
you're raising your chakras up to the pineal. You know, we go through that all the time. You know,
Yeah.
so self-hate and spirituality is probably the worstest that we have, because to me, that's what we call the enemy, the devil, Lucifer, Satan. That's what the ego, that's what's hiding
Mhm.
our divinity.
Whatever you want to call it, however you
Whatever
identify.
you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hiding, it's shielding our divinity.
Yeah.
And that's the self-hate and spirituality to me, you know, just off the top,
Mhm.
you say self-hate and spirituality.
And it's very easy to distract it because the world is designed to distract you. Um, you know, just because you never had that time for yourself. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what your work schedule is. You're giving somebody 8 hours here, 12 hours here, 16 hours here, and then when you come home, you're hungry, you want to just go to sleep, da da da. But you never fulfilling the inside, that core inside of you. You know what I mean? And keeping that temple at a good, clean standard. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what they say. The body is a temple. You're supposed to take care of the temple, feed the temple, keep it clean. You know, mop the floor, wipe the walls down, and stuff like that. And that's why they say things like cleanliness is next to godliness. You know, and some people keep their home clean, some don't. But you see when you deal with certain things like that. So just make sure you know that your body is your first house. That's the house that you came here in. That's the house you're gonna leave here in, and that's the one that you really need to take care of. And you are not the body.
Hmm.
Uh, I want to speak on that about not being the body, because people think the physical manifestation of themselves is who they are.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And they don't look at it like the body is a vehicle, the body is a car or whatever. You are the one, you are the brainiac behind it. So you can look at it like you're in the body, but you're the one behind the steering wheel, or you're the one with the controller in your hand that's making the body function. And I like to break that down when you talk about like the video game, The Sims. Um, when you controlling the Sims in the simulation, that's what the game Sim stands for. You're telling the Sim what to do, and it's crazy because people play the Sims and they live a life on the Sims where they're successful, where they're doing everything that they want to do, and all that type of stuff, and they're giving that power to that video game, but they're not thinking, oh, everything I'm doing on this video game is something I can do in life, in real world, with the body that I control.
Hmm.
You know, so they basically already defeating themselves by doing it in another, what you want to call it, maybe a metaverse, another universe, another world, assimilation. You know what I'm saying? And not giving that power to themselves when they wake up every day and they attack the world. You know what I'm saying? So that's the self-hate right there too. That's just another example I wanted to, make clear to people that you do have the power to go and create whatever you want. I don't care if you homeless today. You can change that if you want to. Very possible.
Yeah.
Anything can be changed and manipulated in this simulation.
Yeah. 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 Like you said, when you say you are not the body.
Mhm.
So when you say you are not the body, but then we go out and we create all of these different, things against the body.
Mhm.
So I think that when you say that we not taking care of the temple, we not, realizing who we are and all of that, I think that's the same thing as why we tear the body down.
Yeah.
That's the same self-hate. We don't understand it's a temple. We don't understand that we controlling our outcome. We don't
Mhm.
understand that this vehicle is just a vehicle just to move us around. So therefore we abuse it. We don't do what we're supposed to do with this vehicle, with this body. So I like when you said that, we got to mop the floor, we got to clean it up, because I feel the same way. That's allegorical to the body. Sometimes you got to fast. Sometimes you got to eat just fruit for that time. Sometimes you got to, wake up early. But to back up a little bit about why we don't do it and why we don't make time for ourselves, we all distracted, bro. So honestly, I think that's a good way of how we eliminate the distractions, because we talk about the distractions. Like when me or you are tired of we doing XYZ job, we don't hold it in. So we communicate that pressure, and that allows us to see the distraction. And then we go back into that self-realization or that homeostasis that we're trying to become one. We trying to become balanced.
Yeah.
So just like you or me or anybody else, at the end of the day, you're right, we tired. At the end of the day, we can't eat. We want to eat. We want to watch a movie. So a cheat code. So once again, just right before you go to bed, just still your mind. Watch the beginning of the day at the end of your day. What I mean by that is just find out what you did in the beginning of the day in your mind while you laying down, and run it all the way back. Go backwards from when you got in bed. Why I said that is because you're controlling the brain. You're not allowing it to just fire with all of these thoughts.
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah, so you can get some rest at night, because we are limited on the hours, because we are trying to complete these tasks. And then the other thing is in the morning. So, I like my mornings. Some people are night people. Some people are morning people. What I'm doing is showing you that we have to make time for ourselves.
Exactly, because you create your habits.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't care what it is. If you do it, repeat it. Especially if you do it unconsciously, you create your habits. You know what I mean? So if you got a habit of cracking your knuckles, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Now it's unconscious. You just crack your knuckles all the time. You know what I mean? Right. That is a habit that has been created. You know what I mean? So you can also create habits that are good for you.
They're good for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man, like we was talking about when you saying the self-hate, when you move on to self-hate, make me think about financially, progressively, how we look at each other as far as individuals in our own community. I even talk about it because we talked about it kind of today, jokingly, seriously, or whatever. We don't support each other to the fullest.
No.
So self-hate in our own community is so big to where the next person wants a deal. Always got to get a deal. We don't want to support each other fully. We want to say, nah, man, I ain't about to get him that. Why can't I get it for free? Why can't I get a couple dollars off? But then when we go and we say, hey, we went to the mall today. We went to the mall today and we spent, XYZ on whatever we bought. And that makes me remember a phrase they call white ice is colder. So when I look at you, we talk about hypothetically, when I look at you and I say, I'm gonna go ahead and get this equipment from Grind. I'm gonna go ahead and get this black wire from Grind, but we'll see the black wire from Grind, but we'll clearly go get the same doggone thing, maybe from under a different title, from another complexion, Caucasian from Radio Shack.
I'm glad you brought this up. Yeah.
But we'll clearly go right there and we'll purchase it from them. And it's the same thing, same quality. We're not talking about dumbing down the quality, dumbing it down. We're talking about the same exact thing that is so much self-hate to where that's crabs in a bucket. We do not want to see each other win.
Because that's serving the master.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's the self-hate of their like you said, like your reflection. Yeah. You look at it's in the thumbnail. You look at your reflection and you see that self-hate from the
colorism. They call that colorism.
Yeah, serving the master. So if it's just like that. Like when you say like you got somebody in your community, they got the same groceries, same price. I can even say it to the point. Let's say if it was the same groceries and they was 15 cents higher for everything. But you still go to Walmart. You still go to Kroger, Meijer, Why? It's right there. Matter of fact, it's right there in your neighborhood. At this point, it's right down the street. But you still go out to the suburbs to go get it.
Well, yeah, because of the same self-hate. I think I'm better than them.
Yeah.
And then in reverse, he think he better than us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the self-hate. We always looking out in front of us and saying, oh, nah, such and such go there. I ain't about to go there. I ain't about to. But it's like you said, it's the same product. But because you want yourself to feel better than it truly is, you put an egotistical way and you go shop somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, we say that all the time. You know, there's no money being spent in the black community. There's this, that, and the other. Well, we say it, but then we go right back and do the same thing.
But that self-hate is helping destroy you.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not benefiting you when you do things like that. Yeah. And it's like we got these things like with the tariffs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, that is with foreign goods. It's being taxed. That's why things are getting more expensive and all that. I want to see what people do now. Is they gonna go shop in their communities and put the dollar back in the neighborhood? You know what I mean? Is that gonna be a thing? You know?
We about to go through a whole world of change. I think that I don't want to get too far off into that because that's a whole different show. But I think that we will probably revert back to the 70s through 90s to where it was a community effort. We did help each other because if not, the majority gonna be lost.
Yeah.
Because the robot gonna take the job. They're gonna make everything else cheaper, but the majority gonna be lost, and you got to fend for yourself and live off each other anyway.
Right. I mean that's crazy. You said the robot take the job because I just rode to a Taco Bell the other day so I could get something to drink, and as soon as I got in line, it's a damn AI, and people in there working. I'm like, damn, what? And they like, why is this AI talking to me, man? I don't want to go to the drive-through and get a phone operator, man.
Well, hopefully, what we see, like I want to take the utopia type of way versus the dystopia. So to make life better, if we have a robot serving us, we shouldn't be eating that garbage anyway. But if we go, but if we going, but if we going, at least the product can be a little bit cheaper. So if the robot is working, now the product is cheaper because the human demand is not there.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we can look at this system that we're going into completely bad, or we can look at it, the glass is half full. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about, far as the laziness that we see from people and why they don't want to take care of themselves, the self-hate. Yeah, the robots ain't gonna hate themselves. But the benefit of that is that the robots might not hate themselves. You might not have a job, but the things won't be that expensive.
Yeah.
So like we talked about the universal basic income, if they give you $800, but that supports your whole household, then so be it. Now you got to go shop at Walmart because this card that they give you, UBI, because you don't have no job no more. Now it only spends for a certain amount of grocery. But we talked about that on the show though, man. But I was it just had popped in my mind when we was talking about colorism, which was a few minutes ago. Man, one thing that females hear all the time is you too black to be that pretty. You know what I'm saying? You ever heard?
I've heard that in many ways, you cute for a big girl.
Right. Or
she cute. She just a big girl. Like, she cute. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, man.
You gotta be cute for a big girl.
So that's so much hate, man. Even when we compliment each other, we hate on each other. So yeah, man. So hopefully we can bring light to the situation. That way, it will be talked about. It will be communicated. That way we'll get from under that baggage of self-hate, because once you come from under that baggage, I think that you become lighter. So people like to ask me, well, if you change, what's the benefit? What happens? Well, I think that one of the benefits of loving yourself in such a way is your health becomes better.
Yeah.
I think that you are mindful, not that you might change something right away. Yeah. But I think that you're at least mindful. So when you're mindful of yourself because of self-love, then you start to treat yourself differently. You treat your relationship better. Some of us as men, we want hugs, we need hugs, but we don't know how to get a hug. You know, we should hug our partner because sometimes our partners are doing the best. I'm really being serious.
I struggle with that, man. I literally be going through some shit, and I'd be like, man, I wish I could just get a hug. I wish somebody would just walk up and hug me right now. And it's something in me that don't even. Maybe they don't know what's going on with me, but it's something in me that I don't even ask for it. I just, you know what I mean? Like,
okay, well, it's two. There's two things. Well, we know that it's a balance of light and dark, good and evil. You know, so the ego tells you, I want a hug because it makes you feel vulnerable. But the same ego tells you, I don't need no hug.
Yeah.
So we have to balance it and be aware, self-aware, self-realization is that if we do get that hug, we are even older or whole. If we don't get the hug, we're still whole. So it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of, self-affirmations. It takes a lot of good loving on yourself. But at the same token, if you do have somebody that helps bring about that self-love, then go to that person because you right. We as men, we want to get a hug, but then the counterpart or the person don't know that we deserve the hug or we need the hug right then. Sometimes you got to put yourself out there to something that will hug you. Now most of us or some of us and them people, they turn to alcohol, they turn to whatever the case may be that's gonna hug them. But I was telling my sister something about me hugging a tree. And I say this with all sincerity because I grew up single family. You got to be tough. Don't cry. This, that, and the other. I had uncles. Boy, you better not cry. The warmth that I found from hugging a tree was something that I thought was jokingly when I first started hugging a tree. Because then I look at my shirt, I might have some rocks on it, some tree bark on it. But after years of doing this thing, even in front of people, I get such a sensation from it to where I know that I'm being kept in such a way to where now no human interaction is truly needed.
That's deep because they say too much time alone, you go crazy. So, and now I think that's what most people are scared of is being alone. So I want that to be another conversation one day. The fear of being alone for real, because we can go down a million avenues. I did a lot of research about that, about being alone. Being alone is I think one of the biggest fears of most people on the planet.
And one of the biggest triumphs.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And one of the biggest triumphs. Because I know we had a good time right now, and I love talking to you and to the audience at the same token. But I'm gonna give me something to eat. But the real and to keep it real, man, my biggest triumph came from my incarceration. Because from that seclusion, it allowed me to see that I didn't have anybody anyway.
Right.
It was only me anyway. So whatever peace I had, I was gonna find it. Whatever doubt I had, I was gonna own it. So I found that everything was already on me.
Yeah.
So you have to go, not you meaning you, because prayerfully you can use my pain and others' pain to realize that you don't have to go through it. However, most of us have to go through such a painful road to find that peace. Now, that peace brought me to be alone. And alone changed a new word. It became all in one. So alone for me became all in one. Once I found my all in one, which was myself and the love for myself, I was granted and found a good person, a good wife. If as they say in the book, not according to common law, not according to this judicial stuff. But at the same token, when I was fully aware and acceptance of myself was when that true hug came.
Yeah.
So, for me to you and for me and to the audience and to the other men that know we need these hugs, and then, I don't care how soft or how hard or whatever it sounds like, we was all a child at one point in time that needed that hug.
Yeah.
That same child is within us now. So to defeat that as an adult with our willpower,
Mm-hmm.
do things to make sure we hug ourselves and we love ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only thing, you know, a lot of us don't have our parents and go back and say, hey mom or hey dad, you know, my fault, or I accept you as a human being, give me a hug. Because that's really all it is. It starts as childhood and
Yeah.
they're human.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're human, man. So yeah, man. Love, brother, and you know, and much hugs to you and to the audience, you know, because you know, honestly, even, you know, just being completely transparent, I enjoy getting hugs now. You know, even I think I enjoy it, but I also was the person that, you know, when the hug thing came out, you put your arm out first. You know, when you go to hug one of your guys, you know, you shake up, but then you put your arm in front of the hug. You know how when you embrace. So now I've been seeing a lot of people, you know, dealing within the barbershop. They actually give me a full hug, and I was actually kind of, when it first started happening a few years ago, I felt like, man, I'm gonna hug you almost to the side. But
Mm-hmm.
now it has happened so much to where when people come to embrace me with the hug, I'll take that embrace and I'll give it back. And I knew that that was very hard for me
Mm-hmm.
because of so many different reasons, you know.
Well, you know, in our community, you know, it's weird to get too close. It's
True.
weird. It's weird for that full hug. You better give me that side hug. You better dap me up and bring it in. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Like, what you
right,
mean? I mean, like, what you mean? Give me a hug. You know what I mean? So yeah,
right.
we already trained and conditioned in so many ways, man. You know, from what we call a culture. You know what I'm saying? That it is, man. That
Self-hate. It's
yeah,
self-hate.
yeah, man,
It's
yeah,
self-hate. It's
yeah.
self-hate. So yeah, man, I think that this is, once again, we're gonna bring it back to the start of it all. I don't care if it's gonna be 100 channels from now, I might still say some of the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to actually elevate myself through these conversations, as
Mm-hmm.
well as elevate the community and
Mm-hmm.
elevate the people that's within us. That way we can have a feedback. And when these type of challenges do come up, we can build a community to be like, bro, what up? We just only know each other on you know, chat or whatever through YouTube, but we
Yeah.
can build a community to where now we meet up, and because that's what's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
They already have communities based off of YouTube, based off of Discord, based off of Facebook, to where they're actually meeting up and they're
Yeah.
doing exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's and
So,
that's why I preach what I preach when we get on here. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
straight transparent. I mean, because I know that I'm gonna end it right here because I know that within that hand out open to receive
Yeah.
are also given.
Right.
You know, real talk. So with
Yeah.
that hand out, you know, because, you know, my grandmother said, son, you got your fish closed too tight. I'm like, what you talking about, grandma? So then she pulled out some money out of billfold and
Mm-hmm.
she say, see, I can't put no money in your hand
Mm-hmm.
because you won't let nothing go.
Mm.
So she wasn't talking about money,
Yeah, I know what she meant.
no
Yeah.
doubt. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how we gotta live, bro. We gotta be more open. We gotta give our heart more because that's what we gonna get back.
Yeah.
You know, so I'll leave us with that. When we want a hug, give a hug.
Well, you know, I got one more question before we
Right, right.
my question is, do you be listening though? And that's what it is, man. You already
That's what's up, big bro. Yep. All right, man. Leave us with one, man. What a music.
You know, I like that. I want that to stick in people's head, man. But you know, I got a song for it all, man. You know,
Yes, sir.
the
Yep.
end of it all, man. It's always we gonna leave out the same way we came in, man. I hope this one hit y'all, man. Go and break this song down, man, if you got to, all the way down to the bubble gum.
Right. Yep. All right. Peace and love to the community.
You already. Here it is, y'all.
When I think of you,
Yeah.
my heart remembers
Oh, yes, it does.
all the love we've ever had. All the love
Damn.
when I think of you.
Who am I? Cause I know I ain't this body for real. Now that I'm in the physical, it's hard to describe me for real. Trying to remember, but my real self hiding for real. Where you at? Come talk to me. Give me my knowledge. Cause the real shit that I'm really supposed to know, it ain't buried in no college. It ain't buried in no book. I won't hear it from no scholar. Put me up into the astro and grab me by the collar and then speak it into my ear. Even if you gotta holler, I want the cheat codes for this shit like I'm playing Grand Theft Auto. Cause I'm tired of all the lessons. I'm tired of all the stressing. What's the point of being immortal if I'm always counting blessings? I'm done with all the extra testing. Shit, I'm trying to have fun, even if it's for a second. Give me a second. How dare I create myself outside of myself and still be myself? So my question is, what part of myself am I? Cause the thoughts that I be having running around in my mind, I don't think you motherfuckers really know God. Or do you? Or do you look in the mirror and be like, nigga, who you? Meditate, levitate, and see what you do. I need more people on this type of time so I can get a blue clue. Running through this simulation, twisted off this juju. Forgetting that I am the only way I'm going cuckoo. So who am I? I'm you, even you too. So if I'm you too. Quit falling for this foo-foo. No separation from the creation, just like voodoo. Chasing your tail, who knew? Thinking out loud, talking to myself. I know you're listening, you probably think I got a screw loose.